Hello everyone, Para here from Team Paradox. Today I'm going to be doing another deck profile video for you, and it's going to seem a bit repetitive, but it will be actually quite different than the ones I've done in the past. So if you haven't noticed already, I really enjoy doing Strike Ninja decks because Ninja is one of my favorite Go format cards, one of my favorite cards in general, but also because I think there's a lot of unexplored territory with the card in GOAT format. It saw a lot more play immediately after GOAT format, but I think there's a lot of potential uh, for him in this format as well. So I think this build is probably the most realistically competitive one that I've made so far. So uh, let's get into it. So obviously we'll be playing 3 Strike Ninja. You want to see this card as often as you can. You don't want to be without this card, otherwise you'll find yourself just not being able to be as aggressive as you want to be. The point of this deck is it's kind of like a control deck, um, but you are going to be aggressive quite a bit. If you're not already familiar, Strike Ninja's ability is that you can, for the cost of banishing 2 dark monsters in your grave, you can temporarily remove him from the field, remove him from play, and then at the end phase of that turn, he comes back. So it works just like a quick play spell card would. So like Book of Moon, you can activate it on your opponent's turn, or you can activate it on your turn, depending upon when you do. That end phase is going to be the end phase that he comes back. So um, there, if you're going to play any deck, really, you should always go and look up the rulings of the card, especially when it's a less common card, like Strike Ninja, for example. But really any card, because I run into people all the time playing online that adamantly believe that they know a ruling, but they're just simply not correct. And there's nothing wrong with being wrong. There's nothing wrong with being wrong at all. Yeah, the only time it becomes problematic is when you are adamant about you being correct, but you've really not done the due diligence to be able to confidently say that. So you should really look up the rulings. But most importantly, when you do come into like some kind of disagreement, try to be respectful and productive instead of just being negative. It's not going to help anybody. So, but I can tell you a few things about Strike Ninja, since it's a card you're probably not that familiar with. A lot of the utility comes in attacking your opponent, and once your graveyard is loaded with resources, so dark monsters, you can say, for example, if they activate a Sakuretsu Armor or Mirror Force or something along those lines, you can banish Strike Ninja with his effect to protect him. You can also dodge Snatch Steal, Thousand Eyes Restrict, BLS, Chaos Sorcerer, anything that's going to be targeting him. Now, I will say they can chain to this effect. So the cost, so in Yu-Gi-Oh, when you pay the cost up front. So if you're attacking with Strike Ninja, they activate um, Sakuretsu Armor. You activate Strike Ninja's effect to banish. You banish the 2 dark monsters from your grave, and they're allowed to chain to that as well. So they wanted to chain something else to that, they could, right? Like a Book of Moon or a Regeki Break or something like that, or Mirror Force or another card. They can chain to that card, to your effect essentially, and then in that case, Strike Ninja wouldn't dodge it. But in most cases, people usually only have one defensive out at a time, at least good players, and this card comes in handy a lot. So yeah, we'll be playing 3 Strike Ninja, and since we're playing Warriors already, we'll be playing a toolbox component of this, DD Assailant to remove problematic monsters. Very good. DD Survivor. His ability is when this face-up card is banished from the field, at the end of that turn, he's brought back. So if Chaos Sorcerer were to come out or BLS and to banish him, he would come straight back. The reason why that comes into play is because, well, there's multiple reasons. Say, for example, if you attack a face down DD Assailant or DD Warrior Lady and they banish DD Survivor, well, he'll come straight back. So that's an advantage right there. But also, if your opponent knows they can't banish him, they're going to want to attack over him. And if you have defensive traps like Sakuretsu Armor or Mirror Force or something like that, um, they're going to have to risk it at some point. And also, it's a Dark Warrior, so it comes in handy for Strike Ninja for using Strike Ninja's ability. So also play one DD Warrior Lady, and then I play one Exiled Force, and that's it for the warrior monsters. So pretty much just ways to out cards, a way to be aggressive as well, and to get more dark resources into your hand. So moving on, the main dark monster synergy engine, if you want to call it, in this deck will be through Mystic Tomato. So I play 3 Mystic Tomato, which has always been a commonplace in all my Strike Ninja decks for the most part. And with Mystic Tomato, you obviously can get a lot of dark resources. It helps out tremendously. It allows you to be really aggressive, especially against the more kind of chaos decks that don't run too many boss monsters outside of the chaos monsters, so they really can't deal with 1400 attack. They have to usually dedicate traps to getting rid of them, which you're fine with, because in this deck, you don't really care if your monsters go to the grave. We play a lot of monsters, and we want them in the grave as well. So I play 2 Dekoichi. The next several monsters, by the way, are searchable through Mystic Tomato. Even though you probably wouldn't search Dekoichi with Mystic Tomato, you can if you want to. You just want, once again, this helps accomplishing 2 things. 1, you get Darks in the Grave when they attack over this, and 2, you get to draw a card, which is always good. I also play 1 Sangan, an obvious inclusion with any kind of Mystic Tomato package in most decks in GOAT format. It allows you to get a lot of cards. I play 2 Spirit Reaper. This is a really good search for Mystic Tomato, especially if you're playing against a warrior deck. You only really have to, at that point, worry about like Grandmaster Sasuke or something like that, and if you have battle traps to protect yourself, you're not that worried about them. So this card could be very annoying for people to get rid of, and it can help stall for a lot of time. And also, if you get an opportunity to attack like directly with them, you can do a lot of damage to their hand, which is great. And then the last search target for Mystic Tomato is Newdoria. You always want a general rule of thumb, in my opinion, with Mystic Tomato like decks, is to always have a destructive out at the end of a chain. If somebody were to like attack over Mystic Tomato and keep on attacking over them, you always want some kind of out. The Spirit Reaper is nice because it'll stay on the field even if they attack them, and you just take some damage. But Newdoria will actually destroy a monster. This comes in handy actually a lot. So moving on, I play 2 Zaborg, the Thunder Monarch. Because we have the Spirit Reapers, we have the Mystic Tomatoes, we have all the searching targets, and actually Strike Ninja himself. You have tribute fodder for Zaborg if you need it. One strategy is you can use Strike Ninja's ability to keep him on the field if you know you are going to summon a Zaborg next turn. This card's really good for just outing all sorts of really annoying cards. Obviously, it can attack over Spy, it can out face down monsters, chaos monsters. It's really, really good. And a lot of the times, your opponent's going to have monsters to target with this. So play 1 Breaker the Magical Aura, just a really good card in general in GOAT format. And finally, I play 1 Blackluster Soldier on board at the beginning. This, like I said, this is kind of my design for a more competitive, or at least the most competitive build. I don't think the other ones were like exactly not competitive, but this one I feel like works quite well. I put a lot of thought into the ratios and such. But Blackluster Soldier obviously is a really good card, and you do only play the 2 Zaborg, but honestly, I find that with all the thinning of your deck that you end up doing with the searching of Tomato, Sangan, you really don't have and the Dekoichis for drawing, you really don't have too much problem actually getting to the Zaborgs, or the DD Warrior Lady actually is another light. You could always search DD Warrior Lady and not use the effect to get the light in the grave. So moving on, for traps, I play Torrential Tribute, Ring of Destruction, and Mirror Force. Torrential Tribute's really good with Strike Ninja because you can your opponent can summon a monster, you activate Torrential Tribute, you activate Strike Ninja's ability, and Strike Ninja will be spared from Torrential Tribute, and everybody else will be gone. You can actually even trigger Torrential Tribute by summoning Strike Ninja and then activating his ability to save him and destroying everything else on the field. Ring of Destruction, just a really good card. Mirror Force, same deal. With the 1 Mirror Force, I do play 2 Sakuretsu Armor. As I said, a lot of the times you want to protect your Spirit Reapers from Grandmaster Sasuke's or just reduce the amount of aggression that your opponent might be putting on you once they kind of realize you might be setting up for something bigger down the line, or you're trying to be more aggressive, or whatever you might be doing. Sakuretsu Armor is always a good card to include if you can. And for the last two traps, I play Dust Tornado and one Return from the Different Dimension. There's a lot of debate in my mind about what the right number for Return from the Different Dimension really is. I feel like one is the correct number because by the time you have enough, honestly, you're not really going to win a lot of the time off this card. Really, Strike Ninja's effect on its own is actually really good. You don't want to think about Strike Ninja as just a means to an end to the different dimension. It's really a good card for just attacking, being aggressive, setting up a board for tributing, so forth and so on. But if it does come to the situation when you draw onto this card and the opportunity is right, you could always use it to take somebody out, surprise them, get a lot of tribute fodder on the board if you need it to sacrifice for a Zaborg and then attack in for a game, whatever you have. One thing to keep in mind is if you brought back a Strike Ninja this way, you can actually banish Strike Ninja before your turn is over, and it'll be spared from this effect. And Dust Tornado is good in kind of synergy with it, because if your opponent's end phases, you end phase Dust Tornado their back row and then set this, and hopefully that was the only thing they had back there. And then if it was, then you know this is good to go if you want to use it. So, as I said, one is my opinion a good number, but it's debatable. Whatever you feel like your personal needs. Moving on to the spells, play the Trinity, obvious cards. Play 2 reinforcements of the army, 2 Nobleman of Crossout. This is one of the maybe more special inclusions, is 2 Smashing Ground. This card is really, really good for just taking out. It doesn't target, so it takes out like King Dragon and all those other cards that could be quite annoying to deal with. It's just a really good card. Take out Thousand Eyes of Straight, Chaos Monster, whatever is being a problem for you. This with the Sakuretsu Armors, you're not going to have too much problem with people being aggressive. And the Spirit Reapers, you're not really going to have that much issue against Warriors, in my opinion. So, Heavy Storm, Mystical Space Typhoon, Back Row, Destruction, and finally Premature Burial and Snatch Steal. Just really good cards. Good for using to get tribute fodder for a Monarch. Good for just bringing back anything. Exiled Force, your Strike Ninja if you need them. Whatever you really need. So that is it for the deck profile. As I said, this is the more competitive-minded build, I guess you could say. More so, it's just I found a way to try to include some kind of chaos in here, and hopefully you could take this and improve upon it, and you have a good time playing it. So let us know what you think of the deck down below, and we will see you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Bye.